What's going on, everybody? Edge0626 here, and hope you're all having a fantastic day. It's the weekend, which means it's time for another wrestling-themed video. And today I'm going to be covering a topic that has been probably one of the most polarizing topics in the history of wrestling since it began, and that's the pandemic era of wrestling. And, some people call it the pandemic era, some people call it the Thunderdome era if you only watch WWE. Whatever you call it, I honestly believe it's probably one of the wildest and weirdest times to be a wrestling fan, especially if you just started watching wrestling. So, let's start with WWE in this case. WWE, the pandemic happened literally as WrestleMania was right around the corner. Like, they had to have WrestleMania and a good portion of their shows for the better part of several months. They were all in the Performance Center. And honestly, man, I did not enjoy those shows at all. I barely even watched them, if I'm being 100% honest with you. Before the pandemic started and Edge had come back at the Royal Rumble, I only watched Raw for the Edge segments, man, because he's my favorite wrestler of all time. So when he came back, I was obviously excited, and I wanted to watch his stuff, and then slowly that became watching more episodes of Raw, watching entire episodes of Raw, getting back into Smackdown, which was the first wrestling show I had ever watched, period, so that was kind of special for me. And Smackdown has been pretty good, while Raw has really fallen off in this pandemic era, if I'm being 100% honest with you, but that's a different story for a different time. I would obviously argue that this has been, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the worst creative years in WWE history. It's just not a fun time to watch, it's just not a fun time to watch WWE right now. I mean, some people say, I could sit here and watch a lot of good stuff. I watch a lot of the stuff for the wrestling, and I don't really care too much about the entertainment aspect of things when it comes to WWE anymore. But it's hard to explain. It's just one of the worst years. Like, you can kind of tell, and I can kind of tell around 2015, 16, and so on, that Raw was kind of going down the shitter, and SmackDown was slowly going down along with it because of the creative booking involved. And it just, you can tell that there was a trend going on, a downward trend, and I guess that trend has continued to go down, even when I wasn't watching WWE for 3 years or so on. But yeah, it's been a weird time. And I'm just glad the Thunderdome kind of got involved to an extent, because, some people would complain about seeing fans on screen, and, they're not real fans, and the crowd noise is all piped in, But at the same time, it gave that spectacle back, with all the pyro with certain people's entrances, because I love pyro in wrestling, man. To me, pyro plays into that spectacle and that ooh and ah factor of wrestling. That's why I did not enjoy, or I didn't even watch, WrestleMania 36 when the pandemic started, because to me, that's not a WrestleMania. It's just not, because there's no spectacle to it. Yeah, some of the moments and some of the matches were cool. This was kind of the beginning, or not the beginning, but there was a lot of cinematic matches or cinematic-esque matches going on throughout wrestling. Like the Boneyard match was cool. Some people will say that whole Funhouse match with Bray Wyatt and John Cena was interesting. I didn't fucking bother to watch that because I'm not a John Cena fan, but that's a different story for a different time. It's just, I didn't even care to watch it. And now that, things are starting to open up for WWE again, I'm very excited to see where the company's going to go. And I look forward to seeing fans again, and I really hope we don't hear a dead crowd that entire 25-show tour they got going on. Because if I hear a dead crowd, I'm gonna lose my fucking shit. I'm really gonna be honest. Because you fucking people, a lot of these states are fucking lucky enough to open up enough to where they can even get wrestling shows. And if they're fucking sitting there on their hands and they're not gonna say a fucking word an entire episode of Raw or SmackDown, I'm just gonna fucking go off. I really am. It would be bullshit, and you should just be thankful we're even getting live wrestling shows, and you're just not going to say anything or do anything. Just fucking lame, in my opinion. Anyway, speaking of other wrestling companies, Impact has been another show that I don't know if I would say has thrived. It's definitely done pretty well for itself. There have been some pretty good moments on Impact. I mean, they've been shooting out of Nashville for the better part of, since it began, practically. I don't even remember when they started doing live shows again. and it was just a good show. I mean, they've had a decent show. I've kind of fell out of it for a little bit because I haven't had the chance to watch anything. I barely have time to do anything anymore, as I've pointed out in the past on my channel here. But you know, Impact has been doing pretty well for itself. I don't know how much I like this whole AEW Impact and thing going on. You know, I thought it was going to be something useful at first, but it seems as though Impact hasn't really, from what I'm seeing online, hasn't really benefited from this all that much. I mean, sure, Kenny Omega shows up every once in a while. Of course, this Against All Odds show has either occurred already or it is occurring. I don't know when this show is taking place because, again, I haven't been keeping track of Impact. So, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, Slammiversary just announced that they have a sold-out crowd. They sold tickets pretty quickly, it seems. So I'm pretty happy about that as well. So hopefully Slammiversary is going to be a very good show. AEW. AEW, this was like sink or swim for them, man. Because this is a new wrestling company, and a wrestling company where the fans make the show. Now, despite the fact that I think a lot of AEW's fans are fucking marks, and they'll cheer anything, and not boo a single heel thing unless you're NJF. Even then he gets cheers and shit. So, like, it's hard to tell. I mean, I think the fans made the show? For the most part, yes. Do I think a lot of them are fucking stupid marks? Yes, but at the end of the day, you need that crowd noise, you need that pyro, and for a while they didn't really have that either because they were shooting something out of the Nightmare Factory, I think they were, in Atlanta. And those shows were pretty fucking lame, if I'm being honest with you. They were just not fun to watch. And then when they started going to Daly's Place and they slowly started having fans come back in later on in 2020, then the shows got a little bit better. Do I still think they got a lot of growing pains in terms of being a company and presenting a wrestling show? Yes, that's painfully obvious, and anybody that thinks otherwise is just lying to themselves. But I feel as though they're on a decent track right now, because Double or Nothing was a pretty fun show overall to watch. It was nice to see a full crowd back. I don't know if they're doing full crowds. I haven't watched this past week's yet, as I make this video of what's it called? I haven't watched AEW's recent episode, so I have to get to that after I make this video. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I mean, I'm excited for what they're going to do, because apparently they have full crowds in Jacksonville, and now they're going to start doing touring themselves now, so that's going to be fun, I hope. Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor's programming was really lacking for the better part of most of 2020 after the pandemic era, because a lot of their stuff featured a lot of I'm not going to lie, like the idea of it is good on paper, but a lot of the execution of it wasn't fantastic. Ring of Honor, what they started doing was they started showcasing talents on their roster, and they did like entire episodes dedicated to them. And that's all well and good. I'm not denying that it's not like a great thing to do. Where the execution is kind of lacking for me is was the fact that they were showing a lot of matches, a lot of recent matches that a lot of fans have probably already seen if you follow their weekly television show, which I do all the time. So I was kind of sitting here like, fuck, I've already seen this match. Like, I saw this match 3 fucking months ago before the pandemic started. Like, why the fuck are they re-showing this match? Like, they just showed this stuff. So a lot of it was kind of repetition. I kind of got bored of it for a while. And they had some good episodes too of showcasing a lot of stars, but I really wanted them to go back and showcase a lot of older stuff too, man. I really wanted to go back and have them showcase a lot of feuds, a lot of older matches from like the 2000s where shit was really hot for them back then with like Homicide and Daniel Bryan. Of course, I guess they can't show Daniel Bryan because of stuff with WWE. I don't really know, but who knows. Also, when the Pure Tournament happened, I fucking loved it, dude. The Pure Tournament was a lot of fun to watch. And even their weekly television show has been a lot of fun to watch, too, for the most part. They've had a lot of good matches and a lot of good feuds going on. I'm looking forward to seeing what Ring of Honor is going to do in the future. And yeah, like that's one company I'm going to have my eye on for a while, and I think you should have their eye on it, too, because they're doing a lot of changes within the company in terms of presenting the show, presenting the wrestlers. So I think you should keep an eye on that. MLW. I started watching MLW when they had the restart back in December, and I honestly love their show, dude. I love their presentation of the show. Obviously, I've been watching the stuff they have on Vice, and the stuff they have on Vice before the pandemic was really fucking good. Like, literally, Tom Lawler started a fucking riot in Texas because the whole feud with the Von Erichs. Like, that man nearly started a fucking riot. I'm just like, oh my god, imagine what it was like being there. But I'm going to the MLW show in July with my brother. I'll be doing a video about that when that happens. And I'm excited for it. I really am. I like their programming, man. They have a very small roster, and they've lost a lot of their roster to larger companies, and they've lost a lot of their roster to just, wrestlers not wanting to sign new contracts. I'm excited to see what new people they have coming in. Obviously, Davey Richards is probably the biggest name they have coming in from this whole MLW draft thing, so I'm excited to see him back in wrestling in July when he's going to be there. So that's going to be cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing Jacob Fatu, man. I love Contra. Contra is like one of my favorite factions right now in wrestling. I love the idea of Contra. It's fucking epic. Anyway, and last but certainly not least is NXT. NXT, in my opinion, has really just not been super great. If I'm being honest with you, like NXT, it feels too much like Raw or SmackDown now. I mean, even before the pandemic, you can kind of notice it, but it wasn't like too bad. Now it's getting to be a little bit too much like Raw and SmackDown, and I hope down the line the NXT we all know and love from the mid 2010s is going to come back. Even like 2018 NXT was fucking epic. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do, but I've been really worried about them. They're probably the one branch of WWE and the one, I guess if you want to call a company or brand, that I have been worried about since the pandemic began, because a lot of their early pandemic shows were not fucking good, man. They were really lacking. So we'll have to see what happens. Anyway, that's my whole take on the pandemic era of wrestling and what I think with each company I have seen. And I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any extra thoughts on these subjects, by all means, leave them down in the comments. I do want to know what you think about the pandemic era of wrestling. And, of course, follow me on social media, and you can always subscribe and listen to the 69 Whiskey Podcast. See you all in the next one, and have a great day.